We recently learned about the High Republic and the 5 stories that will make up Phase 1 of the era, as they're calling it. We know the catalyst for all of these events is going to be something called the Great Disaster, but I wanted to take a step back and look at what the High Republic era might be about for not just Phase 1, but the entire series as it moves forward. What is the High Republic going to tell us about the Jedi, the Force, the Republic, and the galaxy? What got me thinking about all this is the teaser line for these stories back when they were all announced at Star Wars Celebration Chicago and everything was still known as Project Luminous. The Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things until. I think for now we can assume that means the Great Disaster, but what makes it so important? All of the book synopses so far make the Great Disaster sound like it's all about hyperspace and not the Force itself. I also don't think that the Jedi's main enemies, the Nihil, will be able to hinder or affect the Jedi in their connection with the Force. I think what's more likely is that the Jedi might change their connection with the Force, either willingly or inadvertently. The writers on the Project Luminous panel described this era of Star Wars as a time when the Jedi and the Republic were both at their height. They also said that we're going to see the Jedi the way we've always wanted to see them, kind of a Jedi Knights of the Round Table. I don't know how you guys felt, but after watching the original trilogy and meeting Yoda and Obi-Wan, the Jedi of the prequels weren't exactly what I was expecting. I think George Lucas was making it clear that while the Jedi here are still the good guys, they are flawed. The Clone Wars were kind of the last straw. That's when the Jedi betrayed their role as guardians of peace and became straight-up generals. So what happened in that 200-year time gap between the High Republic and the prequels? What caused the Jedi to go from the best they've ever been down to the flawed Jedi Council that we know? My guess right now is that the Phase 1 stories and beyond are going to show us kind of the beginning of the end of the Jedi when they were at their best. But what was the catalyst for that change? From what little we currently know about the Jedi of the High Republic, we can already see that they present themselves differently than the Jedi of the prequels. Their robes are flashier and more ornate. Now this could just be a stylistic choice to show that thematically they are grander than the Jedi Council we're used to seeing, but I could also see it as a sign that they're a little more flexible on all of these rules in the Jedi Code, that maybe they allow themselves to attach themselves to physical objects a little more, that they are allowed to show off and kind of brag, and I think that we might see them become a little less flexible and more rigid over time. I could see something happening like maybe a Jedi chooses to save a friend or a loved one at the expense of a lot more people, and then the Jedi Order is like, okay, that's it, no more attachments, no more flashy robes. It could lead to a greater focus on the rules and a much more strict interpretation of the Jedi Code. We could also see some Jedi using some questionable methods to combat the Nihil. The galaxy will have been at peace for about 800 years by this point, so I assume most of the Jedi Order hasn't seen any combat. They've never had to face any real threat, so how are they going to handle it? Not to mention, the Nihil sound like they're going to be a lot more chaotic and unpredictable than the way the Sith normally operate, so I could absolutely see the Jedi having to make some tough and bad decisions to fight back. High Republic writer Cavan Scott included a reference to a member of the Lost 20, Jedi Masters who left the Order, in his audio drama Dooku Jedi Lost. That character was Master Trennis, and in Scott's upcoming High Republic comic, there is a character named Keeve Trennis, so they're probably the same person, and we will likely see the events that led to Master Trennis turning their back on the Order. Basically, while the Jedi of the High Republic might be at the height of their nobility, influence, and power, I don't think it'll last. These stories are probably going to take place at the tail end of that era where we can see things start to fall apart. We can see corruption start to take hold in the Senate. We can see the Jedi make some questionable decisions and begin to lose their way. And if that's what's happening, I could absolutely see their relationship and connection with the Force start to change. Or I could be way off. I have no idea. I'm just speculating based on the few details that we have and where we know things end up by the time of the prequels. There is a blurb about the High Republic that says the Jedi are going to face a threat to themselves, the galaxy, and the Force itself, so there might be a much more obvious answer to all this. So let me know what you think the Jedi might be like during the High Republic in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.